Hey, welcome back to Self-Serving Skillet. I'm Curtis and I'm going to show you how to make poultry seasoning. Now this seasoning is sort of the catalyst for how I like to think about spices. A long time ago in another life, I was following a recipe that I found online that called for poultry seasoning, and my roommate went out and bought a jar of poultry seasoning, and it listed the ingredients on the label, and I found out that I had most of those things already, and that if I had just bought the two other things, I probably would have used all of the spices that I had in my drawer a lot more than this one sort of blends that was very seasonal, very situational. So that very much informed the way that I think about a lot of other seasoning blends, a lot of other spice blends, and that's what this month is going to be all about. Is we're going to be addressing spice blends, how to make them, how to keep the things on hand so that you don't have to have that extra jar that's just sitting in your pantry waiting for Thanksgiving or waiting for the one time a year that you go out and grill steaks. A lot of these things can be very situational. So let's get into it. Now I have a lot of spices out here, but we're really only going to concentrate on 6. And I'm not including salt here because I like to leave salts out of my seasonings for the purpose of being able to have them be adjustable. I want to be able to add them to something that already has some salt in it without fear of over-salting. So the first thing that's going to go into a poultry seasoning is sage. Now I have a sage plant here that lives on my windowsill, but you want a dried sage for this. You don't want a lot of moisture in it because everything's going to clump up. You can absolutely take these leaves and dry them, but everything I'm going to do here, dry ingredients. Your recipe for the poultry seasoning, any poultry seasoning, 4 parts sage, 3 parts thyme, 2 parts rosemary, and 1 part marjoram and pepper. Now I could use black peppercorns, but since I have them and since I like the flavor so much, I'm going to use white peppercorns. So 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're just going to use about 1/8 of a part, a very small amount of nutmeg. Now I like to get all of my spices whole because they stay a lot more fresh for longer. Then when I use them, I get a better flavor out of them. Think about whole bean coffee versus coffee that's pre-ground. Think about cheese being cut fresh and you get that better flavor rather than buying something that's pre-shredded. Herbs and spices are no different. So that's your basic poultry seasoning right there. Anything that you buy from the store that's labeled poultry spice, poultry seasoning is going to have those 6 ingredients or some variation of those 6 ingredients in it. Something though that I love to add because it adds such a bright and vibrant feel to especially turkey is coriander. Now this is whole coriander as well. I think that this makes a really great seasoning for chicken, turkey. You can go into pork, something that is very cheesy and vegetal, lots of vegetables. Things that you could add, and we're going to do a little bit of experimentation in just a little bit. I have dill. Dill could add just another level of flavor here. And my parts, I would probably go in with 1 to 1/2 a part of anything else that I'm showing you here. Celery seed. All right, it's not celery salt. That's gonna add more salt. This is whole celery seed, allspice. Now this would probably be more of like an eighth of a part or a fourth of a part like the nutmeg, but it's going to bring those same flavors out. Ginger, I really think that ginger picks a lot of meats up. The same meats that we're going for here, the poultries, the porks. I've had really good gingered beef before, although your flavor profile might be a little bit more restricted than this. And then, just to amp it up a little bit, garlic and onion. That goes in almost everything for me. The only other things that I might go with here are, this is a sweet paprika. I usually like smoked paprika, but I think that the smoke would clash with everything. And the smoke tends to be the dominant flavor when you use a smoked spice, a smoked cheese, a smoked salt, anything smoked. And I don't want that here. So I have only a little bit of smoked paprika because I don't use it that often. And then dash of cayenne pepper. So let's experiment with all of these because I'm very curious. I've had a good portion of these already, and some of them I can only imagine what they're gonna taste like. So let's try it. All right, so here I have a pound of ground turkey, and we're just gonna see. We're gonna make a couple different patties. In fact, the pound is 16 ounces and I have 8 seasonings here, so I might as well make 8 2-ounce patties. Another thing to note is that as I was adding all of these spices to these various poultry seasonings, some of them you can just mix back up. Some of them needed to go back in the spice grinder, and some would benefit more from like a mortar and pestle, anything that's sort of a whole pod, a whole bean, a coriander, or a nutmeg. So I'm just gonna divide this in half, and then in half again. I can always fix it later, and then in half one more time, and that should give me roughly equal burger balls. Some are gonna be bigger than others, but that's okay here. And I'm just going to throw them in. I'm not going to try to store these spices at all. In fact, everything here is just gonna get used in a minute to season my bird this year. So I'll throw them all together after that and use them. But usually we would not want to do this. We would not want to cross-contaminate all of our spices, especially if we're going to put them back into the container. And my goal here really is to find out what works the best out of all of these things that I know to work and that have been suggested to me, so that I can mix everything back together again, sort of doctor it up, and use this in my own feast preparation. There we go. All right, give these a turn, and these are going to be spiced pretty heavily, but it's also that we can taste. We're sure to taste everything that's with them. So yeah, let's get going. We need to remember to salt. There's no salt in these. I'm gonna take them out and sort of lay them out in the order that that I have all of these guys in. Salt them, and then we'll get them into a hot pan. All right, and I've done my best to keep these in order, so we're gonna taste in the order that we've been going this entire time. Let's taste this regular first as sort of our baseline. This is primarily sage, and then the next one is thyme, rosemary, marjoram, white pepper, nutmeg. All right. It brings out the poultry. That's nice. This could all use a little bit more salt. There we go. All right, salt, salt, salt. Just so we can taste it, right? Okay, there we go. Yeah, tastes like Thanksgiving. Very complimentary to the bird. There's certainly nothing wrong with it, but I do like mine with a little bit of coriander. So next I'm gonna taste that and see how that's a little bit different. And that coriander, which has like a more kind of bright, almost citrus sort of flavor, really lifts it up. That's much better. All right, let's see here. Dill will be the next one, and I've not tried this before, so this will be the maiden voyage of the dill train. Not as overpowering as I thought it would be. I don't know if that really works for me. If you love dill, this might be your thing. This isn't my thing. All right. The celery seed, this one got ground a little bit finer once I put the celery seed in. Okay. Yeah, gives it a little more maybe freshness. I'm getting more like fresh veggies from that celery. Okay, that's nice. This guy has allspice in it. I'm gonna get some water. It's important to reset your palate and your nose, actually. So one of my favorite techniques for like wine tastings, or when I'm supposed to be tasting a whole bunch of stuff, both in my job and here to tell you what it is just to smell your shirt sleeve. And then that, provided that you don't use any sort of detergent that's really heavy in perfumes, that'll help to reset your nasals, and then you can smell again. And smelling is part of taste, so and clear our nose, clear our palate. Allspice. Okay. I don't love it, but it is kind of getting deeper. We're getting a deeper flavor. I do think it's maybe a little bit overpowering. If I was going to use the allspice, which we didn't use a lot, I might not use the nutmeg, and I also like nutmeg a little better than I like allspice. So nutmeg wins for me. Ginger. And ginger, I think, much like the coriander, is gonna really brighten it up. And I went with, oh, that just keeps going. I went with 1 part. You could probably even bump that up to 2 parts. Which one do I like more? For this job, for the turkey, I probably like the coriander better. If I was doing pork, probably the ginger. Onion and garlic. The smell on that one. It brings it all together. It fills it in. It feels more complete. Paprika and cayenne pepper. That feels more complete in a different way. This one was very full-bodied, very mouth-filling. And that just adds a little bit of something different, a little bit of a peppery taste with that cayenne bite on the very end. It might be more complimentary than anything else. So, what do I like? Well, the great thing about doing it this way is now I have all of these flavors here, so I think that I'm gonna like the coriander and the onion and garlic together, so. And I do. And I think I'm gonna like the celery root or the celery seed with that. Maybe not so much. The celery seed and the coriander are fighting each other a little bit. They both have sort of a bright note to them, and I can see one wanting to take the spotlight away from the other. So they're just fighting each other now. Let's see about that paprika, cayenne, onion and garlic, coriander. I think that's the winner. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Now, we're not actually making anything in this episode. We're not gonna make a whole meal. I'm not gonna roast a bird, but this is how to think about these seasonings and these seasoning blends, how to experiment with adding more things to them, and wrapping your head around what different flavor profiles would and do taste like. I wasn't born knowing any of this stuff. I also don't commonly do all of this, but it's just an example of how trial and error can just make you a better home cook or better at anything. I'm gonna have everything that I did, the proportions that I used, plus links to all of the different herbs, spices, my spice grinder, my mortar and pestle, down in the description below. Join me next week. We're going to do some more seasoning blends all this month. Here are your bloopers. What do you think, Nick? Am I too bright? Now we're cooking with gas, eh? What are weird things that I don't think I'd like dill and allspice? That's it. My palate's shot.